Welcome back for the second half of the Dr. Hildy Show, where today Dr. Hildy and her guests are discussing a variety of art, science, and medicine. For the first half of today's show, or to view all our shows archived for your immediate free download, please visit OneCellOneLightRadio.wordpress.com. And now, here's Dr. Hildy.
Guest, Robby Besner, and we're talking in reference to Therasage of infrared therapy. And we were just leaving before that commercial break, Robby, in reference to pain, because we know that, as you stated earlier on the show, a lot of people have pain now, and I'm finding it's not just back injury, it's pain that is around the lower waist area, which is basically adrenal fatigue as a result of toxins getting into the mitochondria of the cell and interfering with P53 mechanisms. What that just means is an enzyme that triggers a reaction because that particular enzyme has an affinity for being disturbed by particles of RNA. And some of the newer technologies that are being made in medications or any of these are using new microRNA formulations to use in formulations, and these materials get stuck sort of in the kidney area where there's a lot of mitochondria.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is it's the same type of pain that we think is like in the back. The difference of this pain is when you touch the side of your waist, like at the waistband, where your belt would be, it would hurt. It'd be hurt to, when you pinch it there.
Right.
It's a very painful, and that's because it's the adrenal glands are basically swollen and can't function. And when any of these organs swell, they can't send out the right nutrients or the hormones that is needed to send. Like that has to send the adrenal corticosteroid up to the thyroid gland to make it work. But then you can't figure out why you can't wear your pearls that used to fit you at one time, opera length, or choker length rather, and your neck is swollen. It's because you're not getting stimulated right that way hormonally. But
right. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What I was going to say, have you had the experience not only as I call it regular back pain or injury to the vertebrae versus this other types of pain?
Well, yeah, I find that really interesting because most people just talk about pain as a general category, and they think it's tied to an event of some kind. I pulled my back because I leaned over in a funny way, but they don't really never or hardly ever associate it to a toxic organ per se that might be located in that very area. Personally, in a life experience, in high school I was running track and I pulled my groin muscle. And so what happened to me was, this is 30-some-odd years ago or more, well, probably more like 45 and change now. I'm sorry, I'm admitting my age. But,
doesn't matter. We know where that mountain is of the Yellow Emperor. We know, and you have a key to that mountain. We know.
Exactly. So I pulled my groin muscle, and they didn't have modern techniques of rehab as we have these days, and all the facilities available to us. So I take my break from running track, and I wind up limping, and as I'm limping along, as I'm starting to heal, what I didn't realize what was happening was my left leg was getting a little stronger because I was shifting my weight, and my right leg was atrophying just a minute amount. You couldn't see it in necessarily in the way my pants fit. But when you turn the clock forward, like 35, 40 years, now if you look at the bottom heel of my shoe, my right heel wears differently than my left. My gait is off. And that small degree over 30, 40, some odd years starts to change your body structurally, and then your muscles shift to the new structural change. And then all of a sudden, you don't need an event like, bending over funny or lifting a weight funny or something like that. It just, all of a sudden, you've got this chronic pain issue. So what we noticed with the infrared frequency, because, again, it's seeking that muscle, it's seamlessly coming into the body, it's storing in that muscle, and it's absorbed in the muscle. And what it does is it unwinds the sort of the coil that's created when a muscle is in spasm. And it also improves circulation, and we'll hit on that in a minute or so about how that happens. But
that coil, I want to interrupt you, Robby, is that coil is really the nerve channel, and it becomes depolarized or polarized, and it twists, So definitely helps in aiding that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So now the muscle is warmed up. And, I mean, you can date back, if you really look at back to Hippocrates, where he talks about if you add thermal or heat to any application, it will improve the efficacy of the shuttling the medicine to the body, or in this case, help the body naturally heal. So the heat is an element that the body naturally responds to. And if I were to pick one single visceral response that people audibly say to us as a company when they call up and they go, oh, my God, I've had this sciatica condition for 20 years, and if I just had, if I could just have something, some panacea, some pill, just something that could help me because I'm in such pain just putting my jeans on in the morning. And then they discover this infrared technology, and they realize, in a relatively short period of time, weeks, sometimes, within a month or two, that a lot of their conditions are, like peeling an onion, and we've talked about this the other day, that, the body just starts to shed these layers of toxins, these layers of pain, the memory of the pain, and wants to be healthy, and then starts moving towards that direction. And then I remember one customer that called us up and said, gee, it was like a light went off in the room. I realized that I didn't change anything else, any other behavior in my life except add this healing pad, and I'm not in pain anymore. And I just had to call you and tell you how fantastic this technology is. So what happens on the pain, we're improving circulation. So oftentimes associated with pain is swelling. The brain sends edema to the area while it's trying to figure out exactly what the injury is about. And then that's a way to stiffen up the area and while the body's trying to mend and heal. So the improved circulation actually evacuates a lot of this fluids that are surrounding the muscle, and potentially an injury if that's the cause of the pain. That swelling also puts additional pressure on the nerve, as you pointed out, which continues that cycle of pain.
Right.
So if the issue for the pain, the initiation or the initial pain site is a structurally related issue, then of course it takes a while for us to heal. But the secondary condition that's involved with the messages the brain and the nervous system gives to the surrounding muscles around the injury to stiffen up, to get into spasm, the waters associated with it, the infrared frequency will gently start to remove that water, will gently start to unwind that coil of tension and spasm of the muscle. And, of course, that relaxes the body a little bit, allowing you to get back to work, allowing you to work through the pain. There's this crazy statistic out there that 70% of Americans have reported breakthrough pain. And, I mean, that's a crazy number if you think about it, because you're here at work or you're trying to enjoy your personal life and you're dealing with this pain issue, and it clouds everything. So imagine if, you lived in an environment, and I can speak volumes to this because my daughter's Lyme disease, I mean, one of her things is that she suffers body pain, wakes up with it every day.
Whole body, too.
Whole body pain, right? Joint, muscle pain, and so forth. And fashion is to imagine being in a room. If the stereo had a volume 10 and that was the loudest, waking up to a volume 8 every day, and that's the pain that she wakes up with every day. So when you have that amount of volume going on in your life, it's very hard for the body for you to focus at work, for you to have any kind of joy in your life. And so we've had some amazing responses in terms of pain relief using far infrared heat technology in just helping the body calm down. So it's really, really terrific in that regard.
Right, and I like the term that you use, calm down, relax, this way. And that, too, is part of, I think, with your technology, especially with the pads, where you have the jade in it, or even the I have trouble with that
tourmaline.
word. So, yeah,
Tourmaline.
it's audience, that is a very important word, because that's a universal detoxifier, too, just like the jade, but because it has a different magnetic properties, it's very important for your body. But where was I going with this? That in these areas, that also not only you're getting the benefits of the infrared, but you're also getting the benefits of that amplification of that signal that is from the mineral. And you shared with me that these minerals are more in its, I'm going to say, native earth state, rare earth, meaning like the jade, it's not of it's of a pure quality, but it's more of its earthiness versus polished and to make it into a beautiful piece of jewelry.
Yeah,
right?
we're very keen on maintaining the integrity of the harmonics and the energetically balances of these stones as they appear in their natural state. Because
right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Through the processing, like you say, the polishing or the grinding, or sometimes in heat treatments, the natural energies that these stones have start to diminish.
Right, they diminish and they absorb those other, like if you get polished by a buffer all the time, it absorbs that energy too.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so you've also, what I'm trying to say too, Robby, and for the audience, that in your technology, not only were you putting the science, the advisory from medical or naturopaths or anything like that, but you're also looking at its production, because you were always very conscious on the electromagnetic fields of what any kind of electrical device could be generating, but also looking at the quality of your stones that are used in it, and even the patterning of it for its total use. And with, meaning, I know that every different manufacturer has different sizes, different products, et cetera, this way. But what I've liked about your product is that you can have a small pad, as I call it, sit on it. You can use it in the lower back area. It's areas where you have a hard time getting it sometimes with a larger pad, and allows to heal from the core of the body upward too. Like if you had a small pad and just sat on it.
Oh, yeah, and, one of the features of our technology that we developed purposely is that it's a soft, flexible format, so it contours to the body, or to like if you had it on the back of a chair, your office chair, your car seat, a recliner at home, whatever, even on the memory foam mattresses that contour to the body, the pad will take that shape. So it's actually filling in the crevices. It's right on you. And most people are enjoying that. Or, in fact, let's say you're trying to take the pad and cover a hip area, it'll fold over the body, fold over a joint. The pads that come in the small and the medium sizes, as we call them, have straps that go on devices like your chair or your recliner to keep it in place so that it doesn't move around and it gets to the right spot. The mini pad that you're referencing now has a strap that actually can strap on a joint around a knee or an elbow, around your ankle,
like,
your shoulder, and so forth.
Dislocated knee or any of those, or even a frozen shoulder or anything like that. It would be highly beneficial. I also want to bring out, I don't know if this is the time to bring it out or not, but with any of these pads, you've also made for cats and dogs or pets. Pads, and I think that is wonderful because they need it for healing. But I will say, with my infrared and far infrared, our cats always go to it, and you just turn it on and they're there. You don't even have to put them under it.
Well, that's so great that you brought that up because I noticed this in two ways. The first one, where I live in South Florida, and our house is facing east, so we catch the sunrise in the morning. And particularly on the weekends, the first thing I do, I get up, I'll make either some tea or a little bit of coffee, and I open up the shutters. And we have two little puppies. They're full grown, but they're what they call teacup dogs. So they
what kind are they?
It's called a Mieke, which is like a specialty breed of a couple of different breeds together. Anyway, they weigh all of 4 pounds. I never thought I could ever love anything that small, or it could love me, but it somehow, I have one that just is my shadow wherever I go, that I come in and the pup follows me around. Anyway, invariably, every time I open up the shade to the back of the house, the pups get up from their little houses or their pads and so forth, and they migrate over to the back of the house, to the window, the sliding glass door, and they just lay down in the sun. They bask and roll over back and forth and so forth. And I think you mentioned the same earlier experience with your cats. So when I noticed that, I'm saying to myself, well, wow, I didn't train or teach my animals to do that. How did my dogs get so smart? How did they know? What they're doing is recharging their infrared battery. They sleep through the night. They're fasting. Their body is basically losing some of that energy through the night, and they get up first thing, and the first thing they want to do is they want to charge that infrared battery, and so they get over there. The next thing I wanted to impart to you is another story. My wife and I have a ritual at night. She loves to sleep with the small healing pad every night. So before bed, I turn her pad on and I get it warmed up. And these little pups, they sleep in bed with us. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what we do.
That's good. Dachshunds love to go down to the feet and keep your feet warm. That's okay.
Exactly. So even though they're the same breed, the male sleeps at the foot of the bed, the female sleeps at the head of the bed, right? I'm sure that there's something that's natural about that, in terms of organization, animal kingdom-wise. So I put that pad on, and these dogs that normally don't stay within an inch of one another, they both jump on this pad, and they play like king of the mountain. I can't get them to budge. Now, this pad is the small pad, which my wife uses. It's 14 inches by 20. So these dogs are virtually, it's like playing king of the mountain. They're not budging. They're on the pad. That's that. So I said to our organization team, we really have to make this product for the animals or make this technology available because they suffer from hip dysplasia as they're getting older, muscle and joint pain. The infrared frequency is used very often in the equestrian industry to help horses mend their joints. It's as important to them as it is to us. They just can't talk about it as much. And truthfully, as soon as we brought this technology in this format for the pets, it's been on fire. Everybody loves it. Really terrific.
Right, and I'm glad it's finally out there for the pets because it is greatly needed, even for veterinarians that should have these pads in their practice so that their animals that are on surgery can recuperate, and even the owners of these pets, because many families have pets or even single individuals that they're like their children, and you need to take care of them because they can live a very long and full life if they have it. And so many people use pesticides or anything, and they don't realize that the dogs and the cats absorb it on their paws, they lick it, and they get exposed and have diseases that way themselves.
Sure, and their immune systems break down, and they suffer, just like we do from environmental influences and so forth. So in some ways, they tell us first, if you watch them real close, they may not be aging as well as they could, or they get hair loss prematurely and things of that nature, and all that stuff can be managed. What we employed with our pet pad, we have one way that, or a device that comes with the kit, that you can actually plug the pad into your cigarette lighter in your car. So if you're taking the pad on, or your pad on a road trip, you can just throw it right into your cigarette lighter, and it's right there for them. Also, we use what's called a safe power or low voltage, so that if you get a dog that's a little aggressive and they start chewing on the cord, they won't be affected by the electricity.
I had that happen. A client of mine bought a rainbow once, and the dogs ate the cord. So
yeah, I'm sure
it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah. So we try to think ahead as much as we can, but until we get our products out into the world, we don't discover everything. And we're another feature about our company, because we're so close and we're the development team and all the products are original. We listen very carefully to what the public says. So we put it out there, and then we listen for the feedback as to how people are using it and how people are, what they're experiencing, and what fine-tuning we could do to make it better. And that's our goal, to just improve upon the current technology, to bring in all the new stuff that we can develop, and then be sensitive to what how people are using it, and what their benefits are, and what if I had my best wish, what would it be? And then we try to take that under our advisement and employ it in an upgrade of some kind.
Right, and that's wonderful. I know we touched on EMF earlier on the first hour, but I want to bring out, not only as you and I have discussed on the global toxicity of EMF, but many people, and you brought out where they have pain or discomfort on their legs or in their lower legs area, but many people, in particular males, love to put their cell phone, which generates an EMF signal, especially if it's a smartphone connected to the cloud or to the Y, a higher frequency, more gigahertz, and they put it in their back pocket, and usually that back pocket area is where they have the pain and discomfort that is generated from the EMF that causes the distortion of the muscles and everything along that line that way.
Right. So again, however you feel that pain or wherever you're feeling that discomfort, I mean, in one way, when on the pain issue, the pads are really great because that you can bring it intuitively. You have a pain in your back pocket, or you have one in your chest, you bring the pad right to that area. The sauna addresses the full body, so there we can pull out EMF that you may not be experiencing as a referral pain or something that might be more in the forefront of your mind.
Correct, which is very good because of the spinal cord, especially, like you have back panels in the back of the sauna that allows that to penetrate into the body. Because the spinal cord is real close to the body in the back, because there's usually just the skin, sometimes minimal fat around that area, and it gets like a direct hit, so it allows it to detoxify. And it's so important, too, in cleansing the brain, because our brain washes when we sleep due to the salts in our body and everything. And it goes through the different caverns, and if it's swollen in the back, or just a vertebrae is out of sync, out of alignment, or if the muscle is torqued, meaning the muscle is twisted due to an injury or a reaction with chemicals or anything like that, that will help it ease it out and open it up using the sauna. And also, one is the detoxification, but any of this equipment I've seen over the years, it reduces stress and relaxation. It allows you to get that monkey chatter out of your brain, as I call it.
Yeah, wow. On rest and relaxation, it's amazing because, well, particularly like with infrared sauna, if you use the sauna in the morning after the body acclimates, so let's just say you're real toxic and it takes your body maybe 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks for the body to detox. After that period of acclimation, when you use the sauna, then you're going to start to feel way more energized. if you use the sauna or even the healing pad, about 2 hours, particularly the sauna, about 2 hours before bedtime, you'll have the best night's sleep that you've had in ages. And I often laugh because when I use the sauna at night, I invariably, almost every morning, I wake up in my pillow, there's a pool of my drool, you know? So it brings me back
stimulation
to
of those cytokines.
Yeah, exactly. So
really
it's
cleaning your body.
Yep. It's just hilarious. It just invariably always happens. But it's key to know that you don't really want to do infrared sauna, and then try to go to bed right away. It's almost similar to going to the gym and after a good workout, or being on the treadmill for a while, trying to hop into bed. Your body is still, your metabolism is still moving at a little bit higher rate. And you need to calm the body down a little bit. So usually I look at 2 hours or so as a good guideline. Looking to go to bed around 10. You take your sauna 7:30 to 8 o'clock or so. You have a few hours to just rest and relax afterwards. And then it really is great for relaxation, stress relief. Again, that heat is deep penetrating. It stores in the muscle. It really works great. I wanted to spend a minute and circle back to circulation because one of the key elements, in fact, when the infrared comes into the muscle, it warms the muscle up and the organ, of course. Those are the two areas of the body that are probably the most vascular. And so when the muscle or the tissues are warmed up, it warms up the vessels that surround those tissues. And that warmth creates an elasticity or a vasodilation. It actually creates a little larger vessel, which allows more circulation, more blood to come through. Obviously, improved circulation, bringing more blood around the body is a terrific health benefit because your blood carries all of your healing properties. It carries all your nutrition. And certainly if you're taking medications and we can move your blood circulation, improve it by 10 to 15%, now we're giving the tissues more exposure to, and as well as them being reclimatized, them being softer, being more supple, more sponge-like, to absorb all these nutrients. Improved circulation can also allow more oxygen to come to the body. So that's naturally going to fight off disease. Infrared frequency helps the body naturally emit nitric oxide, and that's also a vasodilator. So we have two events here that are creating larger vessels. And then for those of you that know that have heard the term blood clumping, earlier we talked about the charge of the body and the charge of the cell. Well, the cells have a tendency, particularly the red blood cell, have a tendency to attract to one another. They clump. And generally the clumping effect, depending on, again, foods that you eat and how active you are, makes a big difference on how well the cell and the tissues get their nutrients. Because if you can imagine in your mind for a minute that you have a single cell that has another cell around it and another cell around it because it's been attracted, and eventually that cell in the middle of all that doesn't have a lot of surface left. There's not a lot of opportunity for that middle cell, or the one in the middle, to be nourished by the fluids that come through that semi-permeable membrane that surrounds the cell. And so that cell is always going to be the weakest one in the group. And one of the things that infrared frequency does is it helps to unclump them by, again, bringing the negative ions, by bringing the frequency into the body. It starts moving that energy, starts moving that chi, starts moving that circulation. It starts to unclump that cell. It makes those cells more free, allowing the more membrane to be exposed to the various different nutrients. So, and of course, we talk about it a little bit, but improved circulation equals improved metabolism, which also equals the burning of some calories. So to give you some guideline there, generally speaking, a 1 hour sauna might burn as much as 300 to 400 calories. Now, of course, there's a weight loss effect from infrared sauna because you're sweating and you're losing water weight, and you gain some of that back. by drinking, of course, by hydrating. But you do burn the calories. And so we have gotten, there's been white papers that we've read that indicate there's cellulite breakup, so many of the fat molecules are shrinking and they're breaking up. And so we have another attribute here in this improved circulation. So it does set the stage for a lot of great change to the body by improving that circulation.
Right, and also I want to bring out not only Robby, experiencing increased circulation, but through that increased circulation, it gives better oxygenation, reducing oxidative stress, et al. But the thing is, too, many people have been deficient of quote-unquote vitamin D because you need a certain amount of exposure to radiant heat, infrared, so that, like sunlight, so that you can stimulate the metabolites of vitamin D to form the vitamin, the pre-products of it. And many people I've seen, they have better utilization of their own natural vitamin D without supplementation than ones that had to supplement because they basically were not in the sun.
Wow, I'm so glad you brought that up because vitamin D is so important to the body. Most of us know it because, a container of milk says fortified with vitamin D, and that's because you can't absorb calcium unless D is present, and so efficiently. And so many vitamin, when you get calcium vitamins, it'll say on the container that it's fortified with D because these compounding companies know that D has to be present in order for the calcium to be absorbed. And it's not just, most women are very conscious because of their pre-osteoporotic or they know someone that has osteoporosis. And so they're very conscious of the need as time moves forward for them to supplement with calcium, but they're not alone anymore. Many men suffer from calcium deficiencies. My body is calcium deficient, and if I didn't know that now, move the clock forward another 20 years, my body's going to starve for calcium. It's going to draw it from somewhere, and if I don't supplement through food or through some kind of a vitamin of some kind, it's going to draw from my bone, the supply that's available.
Correct, because it goes to the muscles and, before it goes to the bone, yes.
Right, so you need the near part of the frequency, infrared frequency, along with the UVB frequency for the body to naturally start to produce this D. So they did a study about 4 years ago. They polled about 3 million Americans, and 80% of us were vitamin D deficient. That's a crazy number, right?
Yeah. Might be the strontium in the air, too, that inhibits it, too. But we'll go right down the path.
Exactly.
But that's too much. Having, what did you say, 83 or 85%, Robby?
On what?
A deficiency of vitamin D.
80%.
80?
Yeah.
80%. That means only 20% is able to utilize it. That's something major wrong in that population. That means something is making them deficient at an accelerated rate too. Right,
and it affects. It starts that whole chain, as we know. And the research on vitamin D and the importance of D is they're just scratching the surface on it. I mean, we know about it from the binding of the calcium aspect, but it's such an important vitamin to create that proper homeostasis in the body. It's amazing. It's really important.
Right, and then when you don't have that balance with the calcium, which is needed with the vitamin D, to just make it's like the catalyst. It's like putting the salt and pepper in the soup, and the calcium being the soup. You have the improper balance, too, of the potassium, thus you have the muscle cramping versus the magnesium. If those three molecules, calcium, magnesium, potassium, are not in balance, and proportional to their ratios, then like with the magnesium, you have the stiffness you can't move your joints or the stiff muscles. And calcium will come out of the tissue when it's acidic, just as you described earlier, when you have more toxins, because it's trying to neutralize it. Thus, it's like putting sand in a muscle, like in a chicken leg. It gets stiff there, and it has to change. But the whole proportion with having that ratio, if it doesn't have that ratio and the vitamin D, and you don't have your sunlight to make everything happen with the vitamin D, it tends to allow toxins to go deeper into the tissue. And that's where I see more neurological problems, more multiple sclerosis. Like with the thicker cell membranes in the Hispanic, at the equator there was never any multiple sclerosis. Now there is. So something happened in the last 15 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay? And at the same time is that as you go in cleaning your body out, that it will relax and get back to the right memory so that it becomes more, I'm going to call it energetic fortified, bioenergetics that way, so that then you have more resistance to whatever the toxin is. Like when you have a full body of far infrared within your body and it's emitting from you, the effects of EMF are not as great on you as someone who doesn't have that ability.
Exactly.
You like bounce it off, but you got to get that. You got to get that little star, little dust to shine its one shining light, so that it can go full force versus scattering it all over through the water, So we're getting there, Robby. We're getting there.
Yeah, great. Another little area I wanted to brush on is that what we've experienced here is many of our customers have talked about that they've got a sort of another, I guess it's anti-aging. As we get older, we don't move around as much. Some of us aren't stretching as much. We're not using our muscles. There's a little atrophy. And we start to, make our joints make noises and things like that.
Yeah, you creak and you make all kinds. You sound like you got dry spaghetti in the back of your neck or something when you turn your head.
So when you start employing infrared technology, I've been taking a sauna basically every day, infrared sauna every day for almost 10 years now. And what I've noticed is that my range of motion, I wake up and it's warming up my visceral tissues, the connective tissues, the soft fascia, the tendons, the ligaments. Anatomically, they're very rubber-like. You warm up a little bit of rubber, it becomes more flexible,
Mm-hmm.
So the older community, adult community, where they may be a little hunched over or their postures have changed a little bit, they're starting to stand up a little straighter and they're getting sort of renewed life because they've got a little range of motion back, For the athlete, if you were to use the infrared frequency a few minutes before you worked out, like for instance, we make a portable belt that has a little battery, a lithium battery, has infrared frequency and so forth. You put that device on you, and you wear it. It fills your lumbar area, and then you turn it on, and while you're driving to the golf course or you're out to the batting range or whatever it is that your activity, it's warming up. That infrared frequency is warming up your back. It's warming up your hip. It's warming up your joints. And so rather than spending that half hour on the driving range trying to get warmed up, the frequency is doing it for you. So you're less likely to be injured, and the muscles are warm, the blood's moving, so you've got a little bit better range of motion. We've had golfers that have told us that it's added a couple of strokes on their game, and they think that's worth $1 billion, So the range of motion and the part of the body, the activity for the person that wants to be active that's inhibited, maybe coming off of an injury, it's going to help them get back on their feet a little bit. Or let's say you're just fighting with this chronic pain issue, and you need to work and you can't focus on it. You can use the frequency to help you maintain the integrity of that lifestyle that you want,
Right. And you mentioned, hunch over and that. And some people, when they get exposed to toxins in the upper back area at the base of the neck, where you have your main muscles in the back,
right.
Some people are predisposed genetically because they can't metabolize toxins that come in that area, and they'll get it'll feel like it's swollen, like a hump there,
right.
or distend their neck a little bit. I'm not talking hunch over, but I'm talking this male and female. And as soon as they're able to get these toxins out, that hump, that tissue of swelling goes out and down. So it is very important.
Wow, I'm so happy you said that. As a designer, I've always been challenged with making an application of our technology that is good for the neck area, or particularly the lat muscles that hold your shoulders in place, and the areas that many women carry their stress right between their shoulder blades.
Right. There's a main junction there, and the toxins are there too.
And I think in a prior life, Dr. Hildy, I must have been strangled or something, because
I know that too. That's why
growing up,
I
never wore
flashback.
turtlenecks. Even my neck
I got
ties.
that too.
Yeah. So as a designer, I've always had trouble putting together a format that worked well for something to go around the neck until just now. In fact, I named it the Perfect Pad, because it's a brand new product we've just brought out. And rather than the jade, we're using the tourmaline. And
excellent.
It goes around the perimeter of of this product, and it's designed to go over the shoulders. It connects at the neck. It fills that area. I'm so happy with this particular application. It's my new star. I have access, of course, to all of my products. I generally use the pads when if I'm hurting a little bit. I certainly use the sauna every day. But since now it's only about 6 weeks we have this pad in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put it down. I sleep with it every night. I start with putting it on my pillow. I watch the news. I'm relaxing. I fall asleep. And somehow in the middle of the night, I find myself, while I'm still sleeping, moving the pad from behind my neck to over my chest and my tummy area, turn it back on. So every morning for the last 6 weeks, I wake up with it on my belly. So I go to bed with it on my back, and I wake up with it on my belly. I can't seem to keep it off of me. I totally love it.
Yeah, your body needs it. Your body needs it not only for what its intent was, but also, as we discussed these minerals, sometimes we do need to be, I'm going to call it, recharged with that mineral. And so the amplification of that mineral and the infrared allowing it to send that frequency in is helping your body, as it will with many of the clientele. And also, speaking of that, Therasage has allowed me to have what we call a Portals 33, that if any of you are interested in any of these products, definitely go through that portal and utilize their technology to the great, and also start thinking of Christmas time, because you might want to start saving your money give yourself a special treat.
Okay, so
or a friend.
What they do is they come to our site, and then they type in the promotional code box, Portal 33. That's the arrangement, right?
Right.
Okay,
right.
And then when they do that, they'll get a chance to see a special area of our site for promotional discounts, and just because they're part of your viewership and so forth, right?
And I appreciate that very much, and I know our viewers will. So that allows y'all to get, in these economic times, Therasage was so generous in allowing a discount for any of our listeners of this radio show. So that was wonderful.
Great, terrific, really great. So let's spend a minute or two and just talk about what maybe the contraindicators. There may be some concerns out there. Pregnancy is always one that comes up, because if I'm carrying a child, is infrared frequency going to influence the pregnancy in a negative way? And there's really no science on that we've researched, but it makes common sense that if I'm in the late stages of my pregnancy that I wouldn't put an infrared healing pad right on the area where the baby is. Certainly on the back, maybe, areas where you might feel a little bit of pressure and so forth that might help you. Certainly after the pregnancy, all bets are off, and you can use the technology as liberally as you feel comfortable doing. But
right.
That's one thing that, most manufacturers that make products there's always disclaimers that speak to being extra careful during pregnancy times.
Correct. And I want to add, from my experience with the radiant heat, and that what we experienced is that the baby and the mother, because radiant heat comes out of the mother. That's the glow when they're pregnant, but the pregnancy causes the mother to breathe 7 times more air. That's 7 times more toxins if it's in the air, and eat 7 times more food. So that's how the baby gets the nutrients, because it's one system, the mother's system, carrying the baby. And but what we found is that the baby is larger, meaning proportional larger, no defect or anything like that, meaning it's healthier, it's smarter. The babies that are born that I call our far infrared babies, they can lift their heads, after they're born and everything. It's amazing what happens. And they excel. They're reading, at an early age, meaning like 2 and 3 years old, reading, children's books and everything. So it is beautiful, because I personally know that it aligns the water molecule into that perfect K, so that you have the most beautiful tetrahedron prism that makes that Merkaba within your body, and then you just implode within it all those energies. So if you get all those cells working together, Robby, we got a good, beautiful little star system there.
Great. Some of the areas of concern or that come up in dialogue about, again, contraindicator would be if I have high or low blood pressure, what do I do with that? Well, earlier we touched on the circulation. Of course, if I'm improving circulation, it has a tendency to bring your blood pressure down. So one of the things that we've experienced is with people, that are on blood pressure medications, that the body starts to respond more to this technology, and some of them start to wean off of their medications because they're getting the vasodilation, they're getting this improved circulation and improved blood pressure naturally. Right. The flip side of that, so again, if you're taking blood pressure medications, you wouldn't want to take your blood pressure medication right before an infrared treatment, because now you've got 2 forces bringing your pressure down, stabilizing. And then if you had low blood pressure, because we have a tendency to, bring your pressure down a little bit, we want to add more volume by drinking more water to your system so that we keep your pressure consistent, Another issue has to do with prosthetics or implants. So we have cosmetic enhancement implants. So if it's let's say it's a silicone implant with saline solution of sort, infrared frequency is filtered or muted by silicone or by latex. So if the implant, let's say, was for breast augmentation and it was under the muscle, then of course the frequency goes to the muscle first, so that we're good there. If it's above the muscle, then the frequency won't penetrate as deeply, that's all. It won't hurt the implant, it won't hurt the solution or anything of that nature, but it just won't be as effective in that area of the body. The other kinds of implants, like stents or fibrillators or defibrillators, well, earlier we talked that the devices generate no EMF, and so, or very minimal amounts, so it doesn't affect any of the electronics that you might, if you have a battery-operated device that's implanted, it doesn't harm that at all. And of course, if it's like a hip replacement or a joint replacement, it won't hurt the material that they're using now. And if you're concerned at all about the metal, like a staple, a screw, or even in some of these devices there are some metal. Most of the modern surgeries, like 0 to 15 years back, they're using titanium, and there's no interaction between or contraindicator between the infrared frequency and titanium. Prior to that, use stainless a lot, and there hasn't been reported any issues there. So basically, for the most part, with modern surgeries and implants, we have no issue at all.
And I want to add too, Robby, because
yeah.
it was just brought out to my attention by a patient today that had to get her GI tract evaluated, so she had to swallow the little camera pill, okay?
Uh-huh.
And usually with the camera pill, they tell you on risk assessment on the label, what you sign when you get this done at the hospital, is that do not go around any MRI because of the magnets, the positive, negative. Magnets can basically short-circuit the device, okay?
Understood.
And you'll still pass it and everything. But the thing is that radiant heat should not have any problem with any type of pill you may swallow to take pictures of your intestinal colon.
Wow, it's good to know. Yeah, because they're utilizing that more and more these days for diagnostic purposes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked earlier about wound care, so we know that infrared's really good for that. We've gotten some really great discussions with people with diabetes, type 2 diabetes particularly. Many of them suffer from neuropathy, and so it improves the circulation, so it's improving the sensation if it's deadening and tones it down if it's hyper forms of neuropathy. Also, many diabetics suffer from poor circulation to their lower extremities. And so if you take let's say, a healing pad, and you put it just underneath your calf muscles, again, will dilate those vessels and will help the heart bring more blood down to your toes. Where if you're standing or you're sitting, naturally gravity brings more. It's harder for the heart to bring that blood back up into the circulatory system, and so the infrared's been really very effective in helping people with those conditions.
And even put them on their feet, because I know you even have like a foot pad, or even using the small pad of yours with the jade on it, you can really detox the feet that way.
Yeah, we have
and increase the circulation for diabetic people.
Yeah, we've made one of our applications is a office chair that has infrared in the lumbar area. So it has a little lithium battery. The battery lasts for about 10 hours. So when you're fatigued through the day, if you have back pain and you're tied to your desk like I am, I got a little ball and chain. It's invisible, but it's somewhere around here. Anyway, it keeps me planted. So I'm at my desk for too many hours than I'd like to admit tonight. I'm at my desk, and now I can just kind of turn this little heater on in my lower back, and so I feel the fatigue peels away, the pain peels away. I can focus on my work, and the chair has an ergonomic effect to it, so it supports the body structure. Along with that, we developed this foot infrared foot pad, and that's it balances, so it actually will allow you to it's a footrest. So it goes underneath, and then that has infrared in it also. So rather than those, traditional ceramic space heaters that create cations that actually draws your life force out of you, now you've got a foot pad that helps you your anatomic structure. So when you're sitting at your desk, you can not only be sitting properly, but also brings that extra infrared heat to your feet. And it's just fantastic. In fact, here's one of those cases, Dr. Hildy, where we developed it to be part of a office combo, the chair and then we got customers that were calling and said, I dragged that thing into my living room, and my wife and I, we watch TV, and we used to throw a log on the fire. Instead, we both fight over who's got their foot on that foot pad while we're watching our movie after dinner, So it's so great how it's so great how that happens,
Right, and I want to share that as your feet get detoxed, because many toxins, there's a lot of small bones in the foot, and a lot of toxins accumulate there. And some people will get more calluses on their feet because of the toxins, even if they're not, walking barefoot, which was always known to cause more calluses on the feet. The thing is that you may experience some odors coming out of the feet, et cetera, but just realize that it is the toxins coming out, and you'll feel so much better. And I found that individuals that do that, I'm going to call it the foot detox with infrared and far infrared, they also have more shapelier ankles because it's not as swollen in that area, and they have more mobility of the ankles too.
Wow, that's great. That's really great. One other thing that comes up often is if I have a heart condition, will the infrared be a problem for that? And we've worked with some pretty notable cardiologists, and the heart, when it has trouble with its initial main pathways, if the valves are clogged or the arteries and veins start to get clogged, there's these peripheral roads of pathways that the heart utilizes in order to make sure that the blood is pumping as efficiently as it can.
It'll make new roads. It'll make new pathways. Yeah.
Exactly. Many of the cardiologists are using infrared technology, far infrared, particularly to, again, if they're post-surgery, to help the healing process, but also it sort of massages the heart. It improves that circulation, so it's not the same like that you'd get the kind of workout for the heart muscles if you were on a treadmill. But by improving that metabolic rate, it's also sort of passively giving that heart muscle a little exercise. So it's helping that heart patient or the person with a chronic heart ailment to maintain some kind of a regimen of exercise for that heart muscle to maintain the integrity of it. So it's really great for that. I thought we might want to spend a few minutes just talking what I call about this new area of applied health science. With now that I know more about this infrared technology, how do I incorporate it into my life so that I can improve my life? So, when we talk about the sauna, the guidelines, if you don't have a chronic issue, it's pretty simple. 120 to 125. Most of us think hotter is better, but infrared frequency is counterintuitive. And are we running out of time soon?
Yeah, we're out of time. I'm going to have to have you come back. I mean, Robby, we'll just get this rescheduled. This is part 1, and we'll have part 2, okay?
Wow.
So we can go into the applied health, because I love what you're doing there with castor oil, bentonite, and everything. And we definitely have to cover that. And I want to bring out, too, the children and chronic disorders and how effective it's been with autism and a lot of other things. So please, I want to have our program director coordinate. Maybe you can even come back next week or as soon as you can work it in your schedule, okay?
That would be my pleasure. And thank you again so much for having me today. I hope
you're welcome. The time flies.
Had some benefit from our discussion.
I know they will.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye. And audience, God bless.
You've been listening to the Dr. Hildy Show on the OneCellOneLight Radio Network. For the other half of today's show, or to view all of our shows archived for your immediate free download, please visit OneCellOneLightRadio.wordpress.com. This is Mark the Arcturian speaking for the Dr. Hildy Show, a OneCellOneLight Radio production.